Welcome everyone to another episode of Coast to Coast. A brutal start to the 2025 season, going 0 from 3 in what I feel is probably going to shape as a fairly difficult draw to start the year. You've got the Dockers, the Lions, the Suns, all would be in my selection to finish inside the top 8, probably comfortably. You've also got the Giants and the Blues on the horizon, so always going to be a tall order flying out of the blocks. We've got AFL.com.au reporter Nathan Schmook joining us real shortly. Later in the week, Ryan Marrick will be joining us on the podcast as well, so make sure to get your questions in for the great man. I think Harry Barnett, Locke Rawlinson going to join me on the panel as well. Played a quality game down back under trying conditions, did Ryan, so I reckon he's got a bit to talk about. Started a sub in round 1. I reckon cemented for a few more weeks as well. The Waffle Boys, they're going to kick off this Saturday at Shark Park, the grand unveiling against East Fremantle. So get down there, 2:30pm start on Saturday. The boys have won their last 2, albeit pre-season games against Peel and the Swans. So they're in good nick. Let's hope they can carry it on, get a win in round 1. Don't forget, the fan MVP is back for 2025. Liam Baker took out an early lead in the first couple of rounds, so have your say. See who's going to get up in the next game. Visit win.wce.com.au and place your vote there. You'll also be in the line for a Superstore voucher, $100 worth, and be in the running for a couple of tickets to the John Worsfold Medal, where you will present the winning award on stage. What a cool opportunity that'll be. Also, don't forget the club's also rolling out the charter flight packages, grand final packages. They're always hard to get hold of, those seats, and exclusive events for the East Coast Eagles fan base. You can find all the info on that stuff at eagleshospitality.com.au. Without further ado, let's bring in the Schmook. Welcome, Nathan. Thank you for joining us on this Monday yet again. Bit of a disappointing blow for the 53,000 that turned up at Optus and many more watching at home on the Tube. You fall short again to the crosstown rivals, 0 and 3. The game was seesawing early doors, and I think everyone's hopes were up. The point where Graham kicks the point where Liam Ryan ends up doing the miraculous, steals the ball, check side dribbler, 3 goals straight. You're thinking, here we go. Are we going to produce the same sort of performance like we did last week against the Lions? That was probably where it peaked at that point, though.
Absolutely the highlight, and probably the point where there was a little bit of hope, but 6 of the next 7 goals for Freo, 26 points down at halftime, and from there it was just an absolute grind for West Coast. Just the midfield battle just wasn't going their way. The Freo midfielders dominated the game and probably had the 3 best players on the ground in that position on the ground. So, yeah, I think it probably got a little bit ugly towards the end, and the scoreboard probably flattered West Coast, I'd say, in the end of the game.
I finally realised what it's been like playing against us from, the 2017 to 2022, or just recently, where you just have Gov and TB dominating the aerial contest down back. And it seemed Freo were well and truly in control of that space. But plenty of other facets of why Freo got on top in this contest.
Yeah, it started in the midfield, and it started with their pressure and the fact that they just forced West Coast into skill errors. And I think the way that the Eagles went forward with the ball, it made it easy for that sort of stuff to happen, for those intercept marks, for the key position players to dominate the game. So I don't think there was a weakness really in Freo's game, but the glaring weakness, as Andrew McQualter spoke about after the game, was the skills from West Coast. And I'd say probably every player out on the ground had a moment like that. There were some that had more than others, but that's going to be the big RFI this week, as the coach would probably say.
Freo seems so much stronger in the contest as well, whether you put that down to age demographic, the experience in the team, but there's such strong bodies in there that the tackle efficiency, I'm sure, was in Freo's favour. And when we're trying to lay them, they always seem to get that outlet still in the tackle to release the contest and spread, run in numbers.
Yeah, well, they're young guys. Like they're both really young teams. I think that was thrown around a bit in the lead up, that they were both bottom 4 in the AFL for age, for experience. But that Freo team, they're guys who have been playing together for a little bit now. They're playing under a system that's established. But the confidence and the skills for West Coast, I think they're under a new system. They're under a new game plan, and that probably works into it. And yeah, Andrew McQualter spoke about that after the game, that there might have been a little bit of confidence going on in this game. So, yeah, I think as we see this Eagles team get more established playing together, hopefully those skills will start to rise.
Perhaps the biggest hit of the day is your All-Australian machine, Jeremy McGovern, going down with a groin injury. You're already pretty thin back there with TB going, and now we're waiting on scans pending with the Bar Health and Hygiene injury report that's going to come out Tuesday. There'll be a lot of nervous weights of the severity of it. You've got a surplus of tall forwards going on at the moment, Schmooky, so you've got all these blokes almost warranted of a game. Jack Will, the work he did last year, the form he rose into. You've got Oscar Allen, your captain. You've got Jake Waterman on the cusp of a return, got close this week, didn't tick that final box. And you've got Archer Reid, who we'll speak about in a bit. Now Job Shanahan's playing in the Waffle, one of your good new tall recruits. Harry Barnett's doing a bit more ruck work down there now. Cal Jamison's some weeks away. Rhett Bazzo's only just returned. It's now a hard position to be in with such heavy stock in one area and you've depleted in the other to a degree.
And Sandy Brock's the other one that we haven't spoken about as a young key defender who was great in the Waffle and could be called on to fill that role that Gov's played. But yeah,
that's going to be a tall order going, hey, how about some Jesse Hogan perhaps to your first game at AFL in a while?
Exactly. It's such a massive blow. An All-Australian player, coming off an All-Australian season. And he's in great form and he's a leader. And I think the leadership's probably something they're going to miss from Gov as much as anything because, let's be frank, the leaders, the senior guys in this West Coast team are probably the guys that are going to be under the pump a little bit to drag the club out of this little slump and get the team going again. I think Gov was one of those players that you could rely on to do that. You got Oscar and Liam Duggan as the co-captains. Jack Graham and Liam Baker are new to that group, and Jake Waterman's coming back from injury. So, yeah, it's a massive loss as much on field as it is leadership.
Now, Wilmini spoke post-game about maybe exploring personnel, and your Waffle teams now had 2 wins on the trot, albeit practice games, playing against East Freo in the season opener on Saturday at Shark Park. Get along. But you've got Malachi Champion, who was in the best, Clay Hole and Tom Gross, who were in the mix as well for good players in the midfield. So it's a bit of watch this space come Thursday. Archer Reid, let's discuss him. Probably one of the few bright spots on the day. I mean, I thought Ryan Marrick was superb down back and Jinby had a fair bit of it coming his way. They did well, but tallest bloke in the team, did so many good things from his tackling, went back with the flight at one point and has got a couple himself on the board. What do you see from this kid and do you think he should be playing every game from here till September?
100%. I think he's a guy that you just lock in now and it justifies what we heard and what we saw through the pre-season about him having a great summer. He's taken that form and he's producing it at AFL level. So what I love about him is his agility for a massive guy. He's strong in the air and then ground level as well. So yeah, he's one of those unicorn type players in a way, and then he gives you that ruck relief as well. So really important structurally. Yeah, I think he's a really strong player, and probably the goal kicking's the thing now to just go back and work on. And once he can cash in on his good work, then he's going to become a really strong player again. So yeah, lock him in, I think.
Do any of these position changes stick to you? So Oscar got sent back in the second half. Harley went down to halfback or even centre halfback at stages yesterday.
Yep.
I know Cripper played a fair portion of the first half on the wing. Do you see any of those position changes sticking going forward?
Well, Oscar's the obvious one if they want to go that way with the key defensive roles. So that's an option. We've seen him do it in the past, and it might be the thing that just gets him rolling again. And in a similar way, Harley, he's getting massive attention. He's getting the sort of attention in the midfield that senior star midfielders would get, and Matthew Johnson was all over him yesterday. So that's a big ask, and it was a quiet first half for him, a quiet first 3 quarters. So I think the best footy that we saw from him yesterday was when he did go down to halfback. So that might be one. We've seen Nick Dacos, Harry Sheasel early in their careers. That's the role that they played and then worked their way up the ground. So I think while Harley's working through this and working his way back to full fitness, that could be the role for him. It's definitely not a long-term thing. He's definitely going to be a star midfielder, a star sort of midfield forward player, but just for right now, it might be the move that the Eagles want to make.
Who copped it worse from this vision I'll show you here? Was it Archer getting absolutely pancaked from Harry Edwards on this marking contest in the opening part of the game? Or is it Josh Tracy going off the ground for this willy-nilly high five from a teammate that just went askew?
I saw Josh Tracy after the game and he looked sore. That eye was already looking a bit painful. So he copped it badly, but yeah, the pancake on Archer Reid, that was in the moment, oof, that would have hurt.
Do you think Hamish Brayshaw's got a few bruises this morning as well from some of this heavy attention he got from Jamie Cripps on the boundary? Just lined him up, said, oh, yeah, you can get out of my way. like in a hurry too, Hammer. Move. You're not going quick enough at all. Is he recovered from this one?
He's got right away, doesn't he? Cripper, you've got to get out of the way, surely. I haven't rode the boundary, but that's got to be something you're aware of, that if the player needs to line up, just move.
Okay, finally, Channel 7 Derby lunch happened last Friday. I was there doing the reporting for you, mate, so don't you worry. I've got you covered and I'm doing your job for you because Andrew Dillon spoke, CEO of the AFL, of course, and he indicated that State of Origin was likely going to be back on the cards, albeit a few moving domino pieces to fall in a year or so. I think the Indigenous All-Star game sort of gave indication that this is doable. I want you to tell me how likely you think it may be or how that might work should it get up.
Well, I'm all for it. Speaking of towing the company line, I think it would be a great thing for footy to try and get that back up and rolling, and I reckon the All-Stars are the key. The hype we saw around that game earlier this season against Freo, I think that's a way to make it work. And whether you have the All-Stars as part of a State of Origin setup, I don't know how that's going to work. But
so what, you got 5 teams then, Schmooky? So is someone missing out? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, maybe it's just mix it up annually, but I reckon...
Mate, the year that Victoria are left out, you're dreaming that'll happen.
Oh, they all have to be. So if it's Victoria left out, so be it.
What about worst performer of the 2 games at once? So whoever gets belted by the biggest margin, hey, you're sitting out next year.
Tear it up. Yep, I reckon that's a way to make it work. And I think the passion around the All-Stars could be the way to get some passion going again for State of Origin.
Awesome. Schmooky, appreciate your time. Some are calling you the kiss of death for these home games, but I'm sure you and the boys are going to turn it around at Optus sometime in 2025. Appreciate you coming in.
Cheers, Humper.